Hi everybody. So tonight we are going to talk a little bit about 72-hour bags, kits, buckets, whatever the case may be. It can be any kind of vessel, and its intent, the reason it's called a 72-hour whatever, is because it would have the bare basic necessities to get you through 72 hours of an emergency. Okay, so say your power goes out, or say a bad storm comes through, or you are stuck someplace. Okay, a 72-hour kit can make a big difference in how you survive, how you make it through something that's not exactly, great. I like the idea of the bucket, but the bag also has its place. It's kind of, kind of a toss-up. And don't mistake a bag for what I call a get-home bag or a bug-out bag some people use. They're all very similar, so it just kind of depends on how you want to set it up, or just say you have a bag instead of a bucket or a box, or whatever. It's a vessel. The reason I say it depends on the who, what, where is because in my case, we've talked previously about a get home bag, and I'll link that up here, and that is what I would need to get from where I am to home and on your average day. Okay, the 72-hour kit, which would not take me 72 hours of everything, unless something went really wrong, but a 72-hour kit would get us through an emergency in, say, a power outage or a bad storm, something that kind of takes us out of the norm where we don't have the comforts of home even though we are home. This provides you with some of the basic necessities. And ideally, each person in your household would have one of these kits. We're just going to call it a kit for right now, okay? So each person would have one of these kits, which is great because you can personalize them. The reason, again, that I like the bucket so much is you can very much personalize them. You can write on the bucket. You can tape the list to the bucket, and it's something that's portable that you can move around. And buckets have many purposes, and you can use a bucket the way that you couldn't use a bag. Okay, so just we'll touch on that too. So ideally, this is what we want to see in a 72-hour kit. Okay, one set of clothing. Which, sweats, a short, let's base it on your temperature. I mean, if you're gonna stay on top of this and keep on top of the container, the kit, then it would change summer to winter depending on your temperatures. So let's say we're going into spring right now, so a t-shirt and a pair of sweats. Okay, so if I roll up a t-shirt and a pair of sweats in there, make sure to throw in a couple pairs of underwear. Those are very important. A set of socks, and a real simple pair of shoes for spring, summer. Okay, so that is your extra clothing in case something happens to the stuff that you are wearing. Flashlights with you can either do flashlights that are crank. You can do flashlights that have batteries. If you do flashlights that have batteries, then it is best to swap out fresh batteries every few months, so that you know that you've always got fresh batteries, because there's nothing worse than needing a flashlight and going to get it and finding out that the batteries are dead. Okay, but those crank flashlights are good no matter what. It's always good to have some way to make fire. Okay, so whether it be matches or lighters or those sticks, what are those called? I can't remember now, but they're little metal sticks that make fire. No, really, I'm not a prepper, okay? But, some way to make fire. And that's important for any number of reasons. It may be to start your cooking utensil. It may be to actually start a fire to keep you warm. Any number of things. So even if you don't smoke, have a lighter in your bag or your box or whatever. It's important. My number one, of course, always favorite is toilet paper. Get a roll of toilet paper. Don't leave it as a roll, because space is optimum in this case. Okay, so you can either leave it whole and put different things down in the middle of it, or you can actually squash it with the tube right in it, flatten it up, and that'll take up less room that way. So 1 roll of toilet paper. Because it's 72 hours, it kind of goes in line with the underwear, guys. You want to make sure to have a toothbrush and toothpaste in there. Maybe some dental floss, okay? And then soap. And I'm not talking about your favorite body wash. Get a little bar soap, okay? And this is one of those things where if you go to hotels and that kind of thing very often, okay, you can get those little bars of soaps from them too. Those are great. Those are great for a kit like this because they're small. They don't take up a lot of room. They're portable. Perfect size. Any other kind of toiletries that are necessary, okay? Feminine hygiene or whatever the case may be. Think about what you use at least once a week. If it's guaranteed that you use it once a week, take a look at getting a smaller sample size and putting it in that bucket, okay? Deodorant. I mean, this is, if you go to Walmart or wherever, you know, they've always got those travel sizes. That's great. Those things are great for this kind of situation. And if you wear contacts, you want to make sure to have extra solution and, you know, the case and everything that you have in there. Make sure that you've got stuff to take care of that. Even though I'm not a huge advocate of hand sanitizer, this is one of those cases where it would be a good thing because running water may not be available. So a little bottle or a packet or something of hand sanitizer, it's a good thing. A pocket knife, check it out. And we've got a few different ones. I don't know if I've shown you guys these or not. I actually picked some up at a garage sale last summer for like $1 a piece, and it was I'm assuming an old angler that, you know, his widow or wife or whoever was selling off all of his stuff. And so I picked up these 2 little knives. They're nothing to write home about, but they're sharp and they're handy and they're light. And so there's typically one in the truck, and I try to have one handy so that I can use it with the chickens. You know, I go out there to open up the feed bags and stuff. But having one in your 72-hour kit, very important. You never know what you can use a knife for, okay? Now we're going to kind of look at, let's see, does it make sense to put a whistle in there, okay? And you may go, a whistle, really? But you'd be surprised at the good that a whistle can do, okay? In case of emergencies, a whistle is small, it's compact, it will get somebody's attention. It's an important thing. Ponchos. Now, they sell or they come in different things, these emergency ponchos. They are not top-notch quality, #1 rubber, the whole deal. They're meant to be kind of disposable. They're meant for emergencies. And I know I have a couple, 3, 4 of those in the pantry in one of those, you know, baskets. So that's going to be one of those things that I put in there because being able to protect yourself from weather, you know, it's amazing what you can use those for. It gets you up off something that's wet. Fantastic. You know, right there along with the toilet paper is duct tape, you guys. Okay, duct tape, you can never go wrong with duct tape. So find a couple of small rolls. You don't need the monster big roll, but a couple of small rolls. And then like at the Dollar Tree or any other number of dollar stores, they have those glow sticks now. And they have ones for the kids. They have brighter ones. They have ones that are actually meant for emergencies that are thicker that actually put off some decent light. Those are really cool to have around. They help so that you don't have to carry around candles or flashlights or, you know, that kind of thing. They're short-term, one-time use, but for an emergency situation, they're great. If you are in a colder climate, it's always nice when you're setting up your vessel, your kit, for the winter weather to put some hand and foot warmers in there. They normally run about $1 or so at your hardware stores or your sporting goods stores, and they work really well. I have stuffed them in my boots. I have stuffed them in my mittens. I have stuffed them down my shirt. Okay, they really do work well. So it's a very important if you're in a cold climate to have that extra little bit of heat that you can add to it. A first aid kit is the next thing, and you don't need yes, theoretically, you know, a really great first aid kit, but for the purpose of putting into this kit, just a small first aid kit with the basic necessities. You can actually find a really decent small first aid kit on something like Amazon for less than $20, you guys. And it's sorry, dog. It's a good thing to have. You can't have too many of them, okay? You know, you want to be able to grab them quick. And in that first aid kit, you want to make sure that you've got things like Benadryl, antibiotic ointment, aspirins, painkillers, that kind of thing. Very important. My husband is a huge advocate. He carries around aspirin all the time. All the time. This man has aspirin in his pocket so that if he runs across anybody that's having a heart attack, he can what do? You put the aspirin under their tongue? Our stroke? You put the, huh? Okay, so a heart attack or a stroke, if you take that aspirin and put it under their tongue right away, it gets absorbed into their system faster and it can prevent it from being really bad, okay, possibly fatal. So aspirin's always a really good thing to have on hand. If you are dependent on a specific kind of medication, then you want to have a 3-day backup in this kit. Again, it's a 72-hour kit, you guys. I'm not talking anything longer than that, okay? So you want to have 3 days worth of medication in there in case something happens that you are unable or it's not possible to get to your medicine cabinet or wherever you have your medication. Having that backup could literally be a matter of life and death. So you want to make sure to have that. The 72-hour kit also should have some kind of blanket, okay? And you don't have to go all hog wild, with this. This is just some basic kind of cover. I've been really fortunate, and I keep my eye out all the time for wool blankets at the thrift stores, and they don't got to be pretty. I just said they don't got to be pretty. They don't have to be pretty, okay? They don't have to be pretty. They just have to be wool. They have to be warm, and they have to be not bulky. So that's what I'm looking for. I've also managed to find some polar fleece. I found one that was meant for hiking or something, and it was actually all rolled up brand new and had a band around it so that it would stay contained. And I thought that was really great for a 72-hour kit. So look for those kinds of little special deals where you're getting a small blanket. I've seen things about Mylar blankets where they're great for emergencies, and I fully believe that they're great for emergencies. For comfort, I prefer something with a little weight, and so have both. Okay, throw a Mylar blanket in there in case of emergency, but then I also, when I think of most emergencies, I think of comfort also, and there's something about having the weight, even though it's not really heavy, having that weight of a blanket on you is comforting. And the Mylar blanket won't have that, okay? But both will be very, very functional for what you're going to need them for. A way to purify water. And that's a really big one, okay? Because like here, not only do we have to deal with water for the bathrooms and that kind of thing, but we need our well in order to have decent drinking water. And actually, the well doesn't bring up really great drinking water. It's potable, but it doesn't taste really great. Okay, so we have a water softener, and the water softener would not be working for various reasons. But every time they go on sale, just can't do a video without the cat tail lately. Every time they go on sale at Amazon, I keep an eye out for them, is the water filter, the Life Straw. Thank you. The Life Straws. And they go on sale for, I think, about $15. They're typically about 20. And so for $15, you can filter something like, I don't even remember how many gallons of water. Enough water for one person for a year. So if you get one of those for every single person in your house and put it in their bucket, then that's an extra one that you've got, okay? Their bucket, their kit. So that's really important to have a way to filter water. You can do those to take up even less room. You can do those water purification tablets. Okay. I have no experience with them. I have no knowledge of how well they work. I kind of mentally, I like the Life Straw better, but tablets I'm sure would be fantastic. Okay. Then we have to start talking about food a little bit, and it's 72 hours. You don't need a smorgasbord, you don't need a 4-course meal, but you do need some kind of food just in case. So if you stick to the small stuff like cans of tuna, or those, like the Wise deal that I shared a few days ago, where it's literally got 3 days worth of food. So get something like that, you know, some kind of easy to prepare, just add water or not. And then if you're a canner, you know, there's always the canned food that you can access easily, but you should have something in this kit that you can eat. So granola bars, the tuna, you can either do a can, but remember, if you do a can, you need to add a can opener, okay? They have those bags that have tuna in them now too. Anything portable, snack-wise, that kind of thing. And then if you want to add some hard candies, you know, something a little sweet, because it's just a comforting thing to have in case of emergency, and it's also good for somebody that's dealing with sugar issues to have some hard candy stuck in there. And, you know, just about any hard candy will do. It doesn't have to be anything big. That's just a starting list for a 72-hour kit, a bucket, a bag, whatever you want to be. What other ideas do you think you'd want to put in yours? And which would you think that you would prefer? I really like the idea of the buckets, because I can write on the outside of the bucket. I can personalize them, you know, for each person. I can keep track of what's in there and kind of keep track of a date also as to when I need to rotate things like batteries or food or whatever. But in the same respect, a bag works out really nice if we're traveling, to have something like that with us. And again, it's not to replace a get-home bag or anything like that. They're actually just a little bit different, even though a few of the items do overlap. To make it even easier, in this kit, you want to, not easier, but to make the experience easier, put something to do, okay? Put a book, or put a deck of cards, or some small travel games, or some dice, or something like that in there, because that can make a big difference too, okay? Is there anything else that you can think of that you would put into a bucket, an emergency kit, okay? Leave that information below. A radio, and I have this radio. They have this radio now, and I was actually a little disappointed about it, but because I thought it was bigger than what actually showed up. But when I think about it now, it would fit perfect in that. It's a hand crank radio that has a USB charge, and it's a NOAA radio, and you know, a couple other things, I'm sure, but it's all hand crank, okay, and solar. But I'm serious, it doesn't take up that much space. That would be phenomenal for this bucket. And again, Amazon is kind of, you know, Amazon and any number of other places are your friend when it comes to looking up these small things like this. Sewing kits, blank notebooks. You want something to write on. Trying to think if there's anything else. I kind of made a list a little bit. Gloves. You know, I'm kind of looking at things. Gloves are not a bad, and whether they're just the dollar store garden gloves, you know, or a decent pair of leather gloves, some kind of gloves would be good. Nail clippers, you know, some kind of, well, like if you get one of those little travel sewing kits or a little travel manicure kit, that kind of thing goes great in there. Okay, that's just off the top of my head in my little list. What else would you add to it? And would you prefer something like a 5-gallon bucket? Or would you be better with like a backpack? You see, you know, like the Red Cross puts together those backpacks, right? Or some kind of other container. I'm thinking like a big tackle box or something, you know. But it needs to be something that you can get to and grab and keep track of. So toss your suggestions down below. I'd be really interested in hearing them. And hopefully soon here, we'll be able to show you our bucket. I've got a lot of the pieces. I just have to get it all into the bucket. So I hope everyone is having a really great night. I seem to be catching something, and I'm really sorry, because I look puffy and I feel congested and not feeling all that great. But we will persevere, not a problem. Today is Wednesday. And so we will see you again tomorrow, and I have no idea what we're going to chat about, but we're going to get together and chat about something tomorrow. Maybe I can do a little bit more regarding what's in the buckets and show you how we're starting to put some stuff together. Sorry, this is dragging on. Have a really great night, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Remember to be safe.